Hello ladies and gentlemen to the Capability Advisor web assessment tool. Version 9.1 is releasing as of today, and as you can see a lot has changed, so let's dive right into it. And so let's start with the landing page. Of course, first impression, way more modern and sleek. We moved the login up front, so no more navigating with the drop-down to get to the login. Login is the most important thing you want to do. And so here it is, assessor login selected by default, and you click whatever you want to log in as below to swap your login type basically. Night mode still there, moved from top right to bottom left. And the version indication, which was the landing page before with the patch notes, has been moved to the bottom right. So now you see, okay, version 9.1, and if you click this, it leads you to the patch notes that we had before. Similar style. However, we have additionally this PDF icon. If you click it, it leads to a presentation that goes over the most important changes. And once this video is released, the release date, of course, will change here. And also a YouTube icon will be available. And if you click this, it will lead to the YouTube patch notes. Basically this video, maybe you found this video actually by going through this icon link method. Next up, the process assessment models still accessible on the landing page. Just click the PAMS button on the top right pop-up window, and you can select the domain here. CSMS audit, for example, still works the same. You have the button to create a link to share, to send to your core workers maybe. The help section, kind of like before, we have the presentations on roughly tutorial stuff, how to set up a Raspberry and performing assessments. We have a link to the YouTube tutorials up here, and for further questions you can of course contact us. So yeah, I think overall a very good change. Gets you up and running faster, and you don't have to navigate a menu for the most important tasks that you do daily if you're using the Capability Advisor, which is logging in. So yeah, next up, the changes to the assessor panel. And so I have logged in. So far no changes. However, if I click on this assessment, you will see very much a lot of changes. We have this tab style UI now. And the reason is pretty simple. Whenever you would open consolidation, consistency, stuff like that, you would get a new window. And after a while working in the tool for maybe an hour or two, you would have a lot of windows open. And if you couldn't be bothered to find the window again because it's in the mess, well, you would reopen the consolidation and it had to fetch the data again, and that's not very efficient. So we opted for this tab view. It also lets us use the space more efficiently. So looking at maybe the rating overview, we still have the option to pop it out. So on the right, there's the pop out button. And if you click it, you get the overview in a different window. To move you to your separate screen, for example, if you're in a Teams meeting, you can still use your second monitor with this pop out. And we have the notepad on the top right. We have the settings. We have the help section is reachable through the assessor UI. And yeah, so maybe the ratings tab, the most important one. If you look at this, it's all blank because we haven't selected a process yet. And you're wondering, where's the process list? So it's on the left. If you click on these arrows, it expands. You can choose your process. And since you're not swapping processes that often, that's also a thing that we've been getting feedback about. So if you click man 3 level 1, okay, I've opened now process man 3. And now I don't need this process list for maybe half an hour, 1 hour for the length of the interview session. So if I click this button again, it just collapses. Now I can use all this space for notes. I can use all this space for rating recommendations and rules. So it's way more efficient with the space you have on your laptop screen. So overall, a total win for you. Another important change to the UI Similar to the tab view, we have collected all the ways you can export data and put them in one place. Before, you would have some exports only in the calculation menu. Some exports would be through the drop down. You would have to select the drop down and go to Excel reports, stuff like that. Again, a lot of windows open. Now you click export in the menu bar and you get one window. I guess it's still a window, but it's only one window. And then you have the option to export a Word. Okay, Word is pretty simple. You have the option to select Excel and then to select which type of data. You want the ratings, that's the normal Excel report export. Then you can also export the process attributes. You can export weaknesses. You can export work products. Same with PowerPoint. There's basically no changes made to this. So you just select PowerPoint and export. I will cover this a little later. We have the PDF export, process attributes or level profile. You select it and you click export. We have still the in-text assessment log or the assessment export, which is this little package icon. So it's the CAAF format. You click export, you get it. So all the exports an assessor would ever want in one place, you just click export and then you select the type of data or the type of file you want to export. The keen-eyed among you would have noticed that there's this color selection going on. Basically, we have introduced global styles versus our organization styles, excuse me. I will cover this a little later in the video. But basically what it means is that your administrator can now select a Word template or upload a Word template and a set of colors throughout the tool for all organizations to use. However, you as an assessor still have the option to use your organization's style, and it just shows you both. For the PowerPoint, it shows you the ratio, so 4:3 or 16:9. It shows you the colors and what type of font it would use, and for the organization style. So these two are kind of similar except for the colors. And for the Word, it just uses the color set so you can select which type of color scheme you want or have to use, and it will export accordingly. UI changes aside, we have created a new evidence collection workflow. So by hitting this plus button in the Evidences tab, you can create an evidence. The fields are kind of similar as before. You add a title, description, and you link them to a practice or a process. If you've linked it to a process or linked it to a practice, it really doesn't matter. However, in the UI, if you go to your process and look at the practices, so 2 evidences showing up for BP1 and 2, and there's only 1 showing up for BP3. And if we look, okay, the second evidence is not linked to BP3 specifically, but to other practices, so it's not showing up there. Whereas if it's linked to the whole process, it shows up for every practice in the UI. This will also be reflected in the word export. So if you export underneath your notes, so strength, weakness, similar to the UI, you will get the evidences that have been linked. The evidence list at the end or wherever you put your evidence list placeholder is not touched. So still whole list is exported with the linked elements or the linked processes. We also have this little import-export feature. By exporting, you get this list. And you can use this or build upon it, create a longer list, create an evidence list, maybe ahead of the assessment or ahead of the interview day, and use the import button, upload it, and it will add the evidences, link them accordingly to the file that you uploaded, and saves you time of linking and creating evidences during the interview if you have access to that information ahead of time. A small disclaimer, whenever I'm talking about importing an Excel file, before it was converting to XML. So you would have to get your Excel file and then convert it to XML. This is no longer the case. Just let it be an Excel file. So XLSX is the format that we are using. So when we swapped to PHP 8, the version 9.0, we swapped libraries, and now we've implemented the library's full power into Capability Advisor. No more converting, just use the Excel file, you're good to go. Next up, a change that is not concerning only the organization, but content provider and administrator as well. When before you would log in, you were greeted with a very blank page until you would navigate somewhere using the menu. This still works. However, we have created this tile menu with the most used functions for this role. So for the respective roles, these tiles will be different. For the organization, you would usually insert an assessor or an assessment, use the imports or change something for the exports. So uploading a template or something similar. And now you click on the tile, you go where you clicked, and I hope, and I'm pretty sure it will make things a little more efficient for you. Speaking of inserting assessments, there is now a small change in the form, so the additional information cannot be hidden anymore. It's pre-expanded and cannot be hidden. And also sponsor and coordinator are mandatory fields. So don't forget, if you want to insert something and you can't, check if you inserted a sponsor or coordinator. The tool will remind you, but don't be confused. This is now mandatory and wasn't before. It's a change of version 9.1. An important rework has been done, which is the content provider. It's been slimmed down to the most important aspects. And of course, the most glaring thing now on your screen is this little pop-up reminding you that the content provider is very dangerous. While being powerful, it can be very dangerous to mess around with your PAMs. So with great power comes great responsibility. Clicking this OK button will remove the pop-up and give you control of the screen again. As you are used to the content provider, you can edit your PAMs in different granularities. You can import and export several things like the dependencies or work products. So nothing really new. The backbone is new and the workflow is a little slimmed down and a little more efficient. A lot of really nice changes are included in version 9.1 regarding the administrator. So for example, we have an assessor import and export, meaning when you're managing a bigger pool of assessors, you now have the ability to get an export of the current assessor base. You go to assessor, you click export, and you can get an Excel file that contains every assessor in the tool, and you can go through it and delete the ones that are not anymore in your company or don't need to have access to the tool. And then afterwards you can add the ones that are missing. And if you go to import, it will just ask you for the XLSX file. Like I mentioned, no more XML. You upload this new Excel file and it goes through the list. Assessors that it can't find that are in the database but not in the Excel will be deactivated, and assessors that are in the Excel but not in the database will be added, meaning you will have way easier time of managing bigger assessor pools more easily. Similarly, finding assessors has been made easier in the admin interface. If you click Assessor Edit, it will sort the list of assessors by type. So the normal assessors are sorted alphabetically. Then there's a new section for the report assessors. There's a section for report assessors that have been dynamically created when inserting an assessment, and also the inactive ones are at the very bottom. If you want to reactivate them, maybe they were deactivated by accident. Also, you have the option to use the search bar. So if I want to look for Damian, I will just type Damian, and then I find Eka Damian. I can select him and edit the profile, stuff like that. If I empty the search bar, all of the assessors will show up again, and I'm good to go again. More power to the admins with this next feature as well. As you can spot in the tiles menu, there's now process assessment model tailoring. It's exactly the same as with the organization user, so no difference there. And there's also the option of disabling tailoring for organizations for those that have very dedicated admins, and sometimes when organization users create a new domain, there is the possibility of this domain already existing. They might have not found it because someone else created it and had a different naming scheme. And now there's 2 domains with exactly the same content. The next time the domain list is a little longer, so it's harder to find the correct one. And you're more prone to recreating this domain yet again, a 3rd time, again, different name. And it adds up. It kind of creates this trash PAMs that are all the same, different names, and no one can find anything anymore. So now, okay, we have tailoring for admin. You can configure your system however you want. It found under models in the top bar, models, add a new domain, tailor it or delete it. I think a very big win for admins. Kind of the same topic. Under models, there's also this management sections. If you click it, you get access to this list of the active and the inactive domains. And what this does is essentially allows you to get rid of all that domain clutter that I talked about, where the same domain is used over and over again, but it's with different names. And at some point you can't find anything anymore. And the problem is you cannot just delete the domain because it's probably used in an assessment and you don't want to mess up the assessment data. So what we've done is we've created this inactive state for domains. They still work, but they won't show up anywhere. So they won't show up in your domain selection when you create an assessment. And so you can deactivate all the process assessment models that are maybe not to your liking, maybe they're duplicates, stuff like that. You just click them here and you click update, and now the CSMS audit is gone. I still want that, so I will just reactivate it. And so this coupled with tailoring only for admins, maybe if you configure it this way for your system, will probably allow you to keep track of which domains are needed in your system, which domains are named what, and overall have a much cleaner and nicer experience when inserting assessments and creating process assessment models tailored to your needs. I have mentioned this briefly, and so we're going to look at it. The export settings for admin. So I've logged in as an admin actually now, and I click export settings and I get basically the same menu that the organization would have just as an admin, and I can upload templates 5 at a time, and those will be globally available to every organization, to every assessor. And the same goes with the PowerPoint style, the header image, the aspect ratio of for the PowerPoint presentations, stuff like that. Later on, we will probably add some more features for Excel reports, stuff like that. So everything will be available for both organization and admin. And the admin settings will be available globally, and the organization settings will be available for the assessments of those organizations. Works exactly the same. You can choose your colors, upload templates. Like I mentioned, everything works the same. It's just global. Again, with the changes to PAMs comes a change to benchmarking, or more specifically, the filtering of benchmark view. So if you go to benchmarking, you can see, okay, I can filter, and now I can filter by process. And there's 2 options. I can contain the process. So I go IMS 0. This is an innovation assessment model, and it contains this IMS 0 process. And I click filter, and now I basically find all the innovation assessments within my system. And I also can go with match. So if I go match and filter, of course, there's no assessment within my system that has only IMS 0. However, I can go with MAN 3 and basically build myself the VDA scope here. And these are my favorites, by the way. So if you scroll down, there's this line, and then there's a lot of other processes. So basically every process within the system. But I won't select those. I will just select the ones that are my favorites. I click filter, and now 3 assessments match exactly this list of processes. To set this up, there's under utilities where benchmark and Power BI management is also situated. We can go to filter settings, and I have this list of favorites versus the list of all the other processes. And it's kind of very intuitive. I go IMS 0. I don't want this in my favorites. I kind of, with the arrow to the right, I put it into the right box, I hit save, and if we go back to benchmark filtering, you can see, okay, IMS 0 is now gone, and I have these favorites set up to suit my needs. So probably a little setup required for you to use this efficiently, but after that it's way better, I think personally, way better than just sorting by the PAMs, because the PAMs, they reflect this one assessment, and sometimes you don't want just a missing ACQ2 or missing ACQ4 or a software process to not or show up, or make the assessment show up or not show up. And so I can go, okay, I kind of create this VDA scope and I click on contain and I filter by this, and so the list goes smaller, and I can find everything that I need for benchmarking and require the data that drives my improvement. And that's it for version 9.1. Okay, there's the update. I'm just kidding. So the update function is the last big change for this version. We've created, similar to the CAAF format, this CAUP, so CAP ADV update package. And this is a container format that allows you to update your installation by yourself. No need for Teams meetings and manual changing of files. So we send you this package, you upload it, and it will verify that the package is from us. It will back up your database and file system and then update the database and the file system. If there's anything wrong with the installation, it will roll back, it will flag the installation as failed, and it will block any future installations that you try through this update functionality. So if the update for whatever reason fails, you can contact us and we can fix it manually, kind of like we did before. So we will update your system manually, remove the flag, and you're good to go again. I personally don't think that will happen very often. I have internally tested this with the beta versions, with patches, and so far it's been great fun for me to use, because there's just, you upload the package, you click update, and it does everything for you, and I just have to sit there and wait until it does what I have done manually before. So yeah, version 9.2 will probably be shipped with this and all the patches as well. I think a very great change going forward. And that's all the changes of version 9.1 in one video. Assessor UI changes to the admin in terms of what they can do and tailor and manage within the system. Overall, a very exciting version, I would say. And yeah, so look forward to you getting version 9.1. Probably the last time that we will do a Teams meeting manual update. If you're going from version 0 to version 9.1, because after that there will be the CAUP files, which will allow us to quicker and more efficiently distribute new versions, new patches, bug fixes, etc. Thanks a lot for sticking around and watching this video, and I hope you have a great day.